Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another DM's Guild review, my written and video review series where I take a look at the adventures and supplemental material at the Dungeon Masters Guild website. For this video, I'll be reviewing the DM's Guild Player Class Supplement 52 New Class Options, designed by Alex Ilyinskii for Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. A review copy has been provided for the purposes of this review. If you enjoy my videos, consider using my affiliate links for your DM's Guild shopping and supporting me via patreon.com/roguewatson. Shout out to my platinum patrons Andrew, Brian, Richard, Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Crazy Pat, and Nick. And gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marco, Steve, Vicente, Gilberto, Sean, aka Cert2B, Adam, Dead Lizard Lounge, and Sam. Thank you all very much for your support. So by now, we are in a post-Xanathar's Guide to Everything world. We have quite a few class options, quite a few official published class, and by class options I mean subclasses. So 5th edition obviously got rid of the whole prestige class thing and really lessened the need for multi-classing that I think made D&D a little more impenetrable in terms of you having to like plan out your entire character's build from the beginning. It's a lot easier to build for a character now when you've got a lot of these abilities that are baked right into all these different subclasses that you can take. And there's a lot available now between the Player's Handbook and Xanathar's. I think everybody has between like maybe 5 and 7 or something to choose from, so that, you know, no two fighters are exactly the same, to a degree. 52 new class options, as you can probably guess, adds quite a few new subclasses and archetypes for every single class. It's not evenly distributed. Some of them only have 2 or 3, and some of them have 5. But there's certainly a lot in here. I find that, obviously, when you have this many in one product, you're looking at quantity over quality. Now, that doesn't mean this is a bad product. In fact, I think it's a good one. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. But I also think that you're definitely not all of these are going to be winners. That's and I kind of expected that. When you have this many, there's just not that many good ideas, frankly, especially coming from one designer. Like, you're just not... Maybe if it was a compilation thing with like everybody coming up with different approaches, but I didn't see how you were going to have this many good options, and there's not that many good options. What it is there's a lot of like ones that are kind of just soft multi-classes, similar to the way an Eldritch Knight is a soft multi-class of a fighter wizard, or similar to how an Arcane Trickster is, you know, a rogue with some magical abilities in there. So there's a little bit of that, and I think they make not a whole lot of sense. There's not a whole lot of meshing together here, but there is enough that I like. I would probably say a third of it is stuff that I didn't really like, or maybe I thought was overpowered and broken and stuff. Although, as you can see by the subtitle, not a good subtitle, but they are player friendly and Dungeon Master approved. So Dungeon Master approved to me means that it is not too unbalanced, because a lot of times players, when they want to use their custom homebrew stuff, they way overpower themselves, which is natural, I think. And as a DM, you need to tamper that down, and you really don't want to even bring anything to the table that's going to be way too powerful than other classes. So I appreciate that is an effort that is made here. I still think that some of them are a little too overpowered, and I'll probably mention 1 or 2 of them. Another third of them I think is just kind of okay. You know, they're maybe not super interesting. It's just kind of like, okay, yeah, I can see how this class works. It doesn't feel that fun, but doesn't feel that bad either. It's just okay. And then the other third are ones that I think are really good. They are really fun. They have interesting mechanics, or they have a really solid theme, or both. Or maybe they fill one of the very few like remaining holes that are left between all the different subclasses we have. So I would say about a third of them I really, really like. Now, in a lot of supplements, if I only liked a third of your content, that's not good, because that's not a lot. But in this case, a third of the content is almost 20, but between 15 and 20 of the subclasses, and that's more than, frankly, than a lot of supplements even try to do. So the fact that we got that many that are, I think, really, really solid and fantastic is good. So it's like you're just throwing a whole bunch of darts at the wall, and only a few of them landed. From your point of view, you maybe didn't look good, but for others, they're thinking, oh man, that's a lot of good darts. You know, you hit a lot of the bullseye targets. So it's weird that I still like this, even if most of them aren't necessarily what I would call very good class options. There are enough good ones that I think overall I would recommend this product. That's a long intro, and I realize, and I'm not gonna be able to go through this whole thing because there's just way too many. I'm gonna just cover kind of some highlights that I wrote down. I'm gonna speak briefly on the formatting here. The designer, you can see it right off the bat on the first page. There's one page per class type. First of all, there's no table of contents, which if you've got anything over like, 8 pages or something, you throw a table of contents in there, especially if it's like this. Like, dude, or dudette, put a table of contents at the beginning. Just solves so many issues, but that's just basic organization. For whatever reason, they wanted a single class archetype per page, which makes skimming this thing, as you can see, I'm about to do it, boom, 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 really easy. Very, very easy and nice to be able to find what you need. The problem is when they had so much information for one class, and a few of them do, they have like extra abilities you can, choose between this many and you get more as you level up kind of a thing. They don't fit on the page, but they wanted to stick to that one page per class rule, so instead they like shoved everything together and then made the font smaller, and it looks really bad. So it's definitely some formatting issues that I didn't like. I can appreciate the, hey, we want to stick this on one page thing, but in that case, you either don't have the art on there, or just use another freaking page. Like, you don't have to stick to this one page per thing, especially when some of the classes clearly needed more than one page. That's just a formatting. That plus the table of contents make it so I've actually got some formatting hang-ups from this one. So the ones that let's talk about the ones I didn't like. That way I can end with the ones that I liked. The ones that I didn't like too much felt like maybe they were a little too just adding in some weird multi-classes. So for example, the Path of the Shaman is a barbarian who gains druid spells, and that's pretty much their whole deal. Which barbarian's the only class that doesn't cast spells, so I guess at some point somebody has going to have to add that in there. Let's see, I wrote down the College of Calamity just because it's a super fighter bard. You get the attack twice at 6th level instead of once, so obviously multi-attack, and you can gain, you can use your charisma modifier. This is what bugged me. You can use your charisma modifier instead of strength or dexterity to calculate weapon hit and damage. Every single combat bard in existence has basically asked for that, begged for that for their DM, and the DM's like, no, that's ridiculous, and here they just give that to you at 3rd level. So this is your even more fightery style bard, which I kind of rolled my eyes at. Let's see, the Astral Domain. I don't have the page numbers on here, do I? There we go. For the Cleric, if you're a Cleric and you want wizard spells, go for the Astral Domain. The Pact Domain on 17 for the Cleric. If you're a Cleric and you want Warlock and more wizard spells. Circle of the Ancients at 19. This is really weird. You basically turn into like a Hexblade Warlock if you're the Druid. You just all based off of Green Flame Blade. There was a Rogue one. I didn't write down, but I remember it now. There was the Divine Hand that basically had a Rogue that gained cleric spells. Just, I don't know, they don't really mesh very well, and unfortunately the lore involved with a lot of these classes are just like 2 or 3 sentences, and I think they are kind of nice, sentences in general, but it doesn't really explain what this class may be necessarily all about. You just kind of have to roll with it based on the mechanics, but a lot of the mechanics are just like, here's what a rogue cleric would look like, except you don't have to multi-class into rogue cleric, you can just take this path. And I would hope that if this were a 20 class options rather than a 52 class options, we would eliminate all these more like eye-rolling, kind of obvious ones to do. At some point it's like every class can do a little bit of what another class can do, which I don't think is necessarily what I wanted D&D subclasses to be. There are other RPGs and games where you can go down along multiple skill trees and thus essentially gain multi-classes, but for D&D, I thought it'd be really more fun if everybody specialized just in different, fun, interesting ways, and were able to use their innate class skills in different, unique ways. Which brings me to the ones that I did like. We're gonna scroll all the way back up to the top for the first one. The very first one is one I really liked. Path of the Great Beast. So for barbarians, whenever you rage, you literally transform into like a were beast, and it says it's purely cosmetic, but then you actually do grow claws and gain a bite attack that you can use, which I think is fantastic, and you can get the like wild shape 6th level, become magical attacks and all that. So I just think that feels very fun. Other ones I liked, the Ranger had I think 2 that I actually liked. Let's scoot all the way down to Ranger. Ranger could use some love. There's a lot in here, so I'm going to skip around. Where are you, Ranger? Above row, Wild Mimic. I guess Ravnica inspiration here. But this one is another one that uses a mechanic already unique to the class, which is the favored enemy. For every favored enemy type you get, you gain a bonus ability or a trait or something. So, for example, if your favorite enemy is dragons, you gain the Dragon's Breath spell twice per long rest. If your favorite enemy is plants, what ranger is that as favorite enemy? You cannot be blinded, and at 7th level you cannot be poisoned, 11th level you cannot be charmed, and at 15th level you cannot be paralyzed. You gain a bunch of immunities, so I guess plants are immune to all those effects. So I just think that's a fun way of adding things on top of what rangers would already do with the favorite enemy, which is pretty cool. They also get the Arcane Archer, where is that? The Nature's Arrow, which gives you a bunch of different arrows you can use, which always felt like something a ranger should definitely be able to do. You just pull out all these really cool arrows, ricochet arrows, stun arrows, thunder arrows, bola arrows. You could already, just by those descriptions, you could probably picture what they do. That sounds really cool and thematic for a ranger to be able to do, so I really like that quite a bit. The Pact, what's it called? The Pact of the Machine for warlocks basically turns a warlock into like War Machine from Avengers. Like, you get flame cannons and eye sensors, axe blades, just fucking like the Deus Ex like sword hands that come out, and literally you start replacing your body with machine parts. And that's cool because there's not anything like that for warlocks, but it's still in keeping with what a warlock is about, which is pledging his service to a certain higher power. In this case, Primus and the Modrons and all that. So I think that's very thematic and cool. There's like a shield master for fighters that works around the shield, which is something we haven't really seen before for fighters. Monks have like a dragon form they can embody, which I actually played a monk sorcerer red dragon disciple character in Neverwinter Nights for a hot second, because that was a game that was like 3.5 or I guess it was third, was like peak multiclassing to where you could try and build everything out from the beginning, and that was a really fun class. And this reminded me a combination of classes, and this one from the monk reminded me of that, although it also feels a little unbalanced because it gives you the ability to transform into a dragon at 3rd level. Now granted, the dragon level is equal to your monk level, so you have to basically turn into like a baby dragon, I guess, but I still feel like that's something you should work your way towards. So maybe that should be like the 11th level spell or something, and gain Dragon Breath at the early levels, which is how Red Dragon Disciple operated, and work your way up. So I like the theme behind this one. It's Dragonborn only. Some of the archetypes have certain restrictions to go with the race. There's actually a fighter one that also works for Dragonborn only that allows you to manifest your wings and all that stuff. So I think they're pretty cool. Some of them maybe need a little bit fine-tuning on the balance, but it's really hard. It's always hard for me at a glance review. Obviously I'm not playing all these classes, not spending the hundreds of hours and years it would take to actually go through and play all these classes from, all the way up to where you can actually make a judgment call. So it's very, very difficult to make a final balancing judgment call on these. So I'm just using, all I can use is a basis of comparison for my experience with D&D as well as the published content out there. And for the most part, I will say most of them did feel decently balanced, with a few exceptions that caused me to raise my eyebrows. There was a rogue one where I was really like, what the hell? I think it was the Shadow Stalker. Yeah. So with the Shadow Stalker, at 3rd level, you gain Dark Vision out to 120 feet. Fine. You can cast Misty Step a number of times per day equal to your Dex modifier. So you're probably looking at, 3 or 4 Misty Steps a day is pretty goddamn huge. At 9th level, you can make a bonus action with a weapon attack with your Shadow. It's necrotic damage, and it can perform a sneak attack even if you've already done so this turn. So you gain a second sneak attack at 9th level, which is bonkers. So some of these feel just a little bit much compared to the others, and maybe needed some more fine-tuning. Maybe that one should have been like a limit, some kind of limit at least. But for the most part, I do think they're decently balanced. My very favorite class of the whole bunch is a Bard College of Art, which reminded me of, I think it was Final Fantasy VI had a character that could sketch monsters. But in this case, at 3rd level, you gain the ability to draw a aberration or monstrosity, and that summons the creature within 30 feet of you. Now, I think it's still balanced because it's with a challenge rating that's 1/3 of your bard level, as well as requires concentration. So I think it's really cool, but also balancing. You can also gain the ability to summon armor and weapons, which scale up with your level. Eventually, you can summon up magic items and weapons, which is really cool. And you later gain thematic spells like Color Spray and Chromatic Orb. Just a really good example of a class that has a cool idea and a cool theme and runs with it in really cool ways without being overbalancing. So College of Art is probably my single favorite one of the bunch, and I think there are enough in here like that. Like there's a Hell Knight for the fighters that lets you choose from a bunch of really cool thematic abilities, like getting Clawed Gauntlet armor that you can summon, or a Hell Weapon, or some kind of radiating fiery aura. I like a lot of the ones that let you choose from a list of abilities to even further fine-tune what you want out of that class. So there's definitely enough here. I didn't like... It's weird to say that I didn't like most of the classes, but with 52, I really don't think I did. I would have had to have liked more than 26 of the classes in here, and I don't think I did. So it's weird to make that judgment call, but still be positive on this material, because there was enough that I did like that I think it is definitely worth checking out. All right, pros and cons for 52 new class options. Pro, 52 new class. Like, there's a ridiculous amount of subclasses for all 12 classes. I've never seen that amount of archetypes in any one location. So you'll just that's a big selling point, I think. And pros, there are over a dozen excellent thematic and fun subclasses, from mechanized warlocks to hellish fighters and mutating rangers. So the cream of the crop. Probably somewhere between 12 and like 16. I really didn't go in there and itemize all the ones I really loved, but at least over a dozen, not more than 20 ones that I thought personally were really, really great, fantastic, cool ideas, and ones that I thought were really, really worth checking out. Cons, there were some formatting issues. So the keeping to one page per class thing caused a lot of weird, like, scrunching up of the text and small font that really turned me off of going through the whole thing. It really needed another pass. Definitely get a table of contents in there so I can quickly, go to whatever page I needed to, rather than scroll through freaking whatever it is, 60-some pages. And I don't know, either get rid of the art on the ones that are the bigger ones, so you can have more room for the text, or just let it wrap around and give me more text. Because the ones that are longer happen to be the ones that I really particularly enjoy, so I don't want to get rid of those or make those shorter, but they need to be able to not have to fit on one page. Another con is that many classes are soft multi-classes and really don't bring anything new. So those were the ones that I really were just like, alright, whatever, this is a weird cleric rogue that doesn't really make any sense and doesn't have any fun abilities. So final verdict, 52 new class options is very much a quantity over quality approach, but there's enough great subclass ideas to make it worth your while. Thank you to everyone for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com. You can support my work at patreon.com/roguewatson. You can follow our own D&D adventures here on my YouTube channel. Thank you.